Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public comment period. Anybody want to come up and speak to us? It doesn't look like it. We'll take a motion on the meeting agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll move the board meeting agenda as presented with the addition.
There was actually no addition.
No addition.
No, it was on the agenda. We just updated what the RVA said.
Okay, all right. With the corrected.
Do we have a second?
Yep, you got it.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Andrew, consent agenda?
Yes, today we have approval of the July 21st and 28th board meeting minutes. Approval of the Health and Human Services County and Hospital accounts payable. Approval of a 3.2 liquor license for the Watkins Sports Club on September 6th, 2026. And a resolution authorizing off-site gambling for the Cedar Mills Lions Club. That is the consent agenda.
All right, can I get a
Madam
motion?
Chair, I would make a motion to move the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Questions? All in favor?
Resolution,
Oops,
Roll call.
Resolution, sorry.
Commissioner Johnson,
yes.
Commissioner Van Ort,
Yes.
Commissioner Samke,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Ober.
Yes. Thank you. Phil Schmalz, Public Works Director.
Good morning.
Morning. Again, Phil Schmaltz, Meeker County Public Works Director. Two items for you. The first one will require board action, the second one will not. First item is to award Arkansas 26 Bridge Project, that's 047626-010. We opened bids yesterday. 3 contractors bid, about 10%, 9.4% over our estimate, but still a reasonable cost and competitive bids. I think we got a pretty good number, so it'll be about $1.2 million to get that bridge rebuilt. We're hoping to maybe start construction in late August. That's ambitious, but I'm hopeful for that. And have the road open before 2027. That's our target. Structural Specialties was our low bidder on the project, and I recommend award.
Madam Chair, I move to award SAP 047626-010 CASA 26 Bridge Replacement to Structural Specialties of Hutchinson, Minnesota for an estimated cost of $1,207,247.42.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Yeah, go ahead,
Madam
sorry.
Chair, if I apologize. Phil, did, just this in general, I mean, the last couple bridges have been significantly higher than this was. Is this a little shorter one, or?
This one's a little shorter, and actually, if you followed along, since we closed the bridge, I think this was closer to a $1.6 million estimate initially.
That's what I was thinking.
So I think bridge costs have been coming down, but it's also a little shorter compared to like the 34 bridge. That was around 1.6 million, I think, construction cost. So a couple different things.
Okay. I was thinking that it was like a 1.6 originally, or that's what was in my memory bank. Appreciate it.
The cost has been coming down since the scoping process initially.
Okay.
Structural has done work for us before too, haven't they?
Yeah.
They built the 34 bridge north of Litchfield.
Okay.
They do good work, local.
And everybody, they're aware of the timelines we're trying to get to?
It's all in the contract.
Okay, great.
Anything else? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the next piece I have for you is our annual highway and ditch presentation. A little bit of a piece on our annual report from the highway group. So I'll start off with some highway highlights. I'd like to just show you what our org chart looks like, give you a clue what we have in the department. We have 32 full-time employees right now, a few vacancies we're working through. It's kind of an ongoing challenge there. Highway system, I won't read through all this, but we have a little less than 300 miles on our state aid system. We don't have county roads, which makes us unique. 775 miles of township roads. We maintain most of those, about 680 of them that we maintain for the townships. And then other roads that exist in Meeker County, trunk highways, which are MnDOT's responsibility, and city streets, which are the city's responsibility in which they exist. Highway duties, this just lists some of the things that we do on our roads. Our CASAs, we're responsible for everything, from maintenance through construction, and then accounting is a big piece that kind of overrides the entire department. We have to cost account all of our expenses on our highway system because we're dealing with a lot of external funds. Equipment, as you hear annually at budget time, we have a lot of equipment. So replacing it takes cost. 20 pickups, 17 plow trucks, 13 blades, then tractors and mowers, that's the big stuff, and then we have lots of little stuff. I didn't list everything, but the pavement maintenance side takes a lot of single off equipment. Pictures, so I like to throw in this picture. We did get all the trucks lined up a couple of years ago and took a shot of them. Same thing with the blades, it's a lot of iron. Just to give you an idea what some of the other equipment we have is skid loader, one of our crew trucks. We have one payloader. That's one of the 9 tractors we have, which are heavily utilized for rural ditch mowing. And then, like I said, we only have one payloader, so loading salt and sand into trucks. Oftentimes, it's those tractors at the out shops doing that work with a loader on the front. Shops, you'll hear more about this fall. Planning a work session to talk about shop reorganization, but this may be just to give you some insight if you don't already know. Those reddish orange circles on that map are our existing shops. There is 9 of them around the county. A lot of them are on the older side, old block structures from the 50s, 60s. Future shops, so the target, in my opinion, is to get down to 5. So moving on 4 of those shops, a little more consolidation. And actually, geographically, maybe it was somebody's plan all along that some of the newer shops we have are in good spots. So a setup like this would be utilizing 5 existing shops, but it will require some modifications to address the equipment and operations in the shops that we move out of. And to give you an idea what we're gonna have to deal with losing those 4 shops. So going from 9 to 5 shops, we're talking about displacing 3 plow trucks, 3 blades, 3 pickups, and then a number of items that we put in a cold storage building down in Cedar Mills. In addition to that, we're gonna do likely a building project in Litchfield is how I see addressing those needs. There's things we don't currently have that we'd like to incorporate into a project, such as materials testing lab, which we currently don't have, which means outsourcing that process. Wash bay, we kind of have a corner where we wash, but we don't have a real wash bay. Crew room, sign storage, and some space for our ditch inspector equipment. But those are things we'll talk about more this fall. I'll bring Devin up to talk about our ditch system.
Morning.
This is the size of the systems we got. We got 45 ditch systems in total, 29 are county, and then 16 are joint ditches shared with other counties. I'm just gonna kind of touch on what I've been working on, the reinvigorated ditch maps, current projects and work, and then some future goals. So over winter, I kind of did a lot of mapping, looking at old files and things like that. Duck Unlimited projects that changed routes, and then me and Teresa kind of tried to change the beacon symbology to kind of show what's private, what's county, what's tile, what's open ditch, so it's a little bit more easy to decipher what's what without having to click on everything.
I think what Devin did is he helped improve the accuracy of some of our mapping. I know some of the maps of our old ditch systems weren't entirely accurate. And then that did lead also location-wise to some discrepancies with the public as far as the color coding on our maps, what's private versus public. So I think this will help for clarity for everyone in the future.
And then I also added some more, what we call the metadata, but so when you click on one of the pieces, it'll say tile size or ditch size, grade, channel width, side slopes, ditch establishment, and if there was a redetermination of benefits. So pretty much all that information that you'd find in the file, I tried to put onto there so it's all in one spot.
Great.
Public drainage map, I actually brought a large copy, but kind of shows clear, I'll just show it to you upside down. Kind of shows where all the ditches are in the county, in the dark blue, and then the tile's a little bit smaller, but, and I put this on the website under the ditches thing, so everybody can go to the website and see it. I think I have some more updates to do on it, but I think most of it is accurate. And then, yeah, and I know when I was in Swift County, one of the things that we had was obviously the highway department spends a lot of time on the roads, and they could see tile blowouts in the ditch, and they always asked me if it was mine or private, whatever. So I figured this would be useful too for them, say if they need to talk to me or not. Current projects, I've been out inspecting. I got 17, actually 18 now, fully inspected so far. Drove them, looked at them the best I could. We got set up for spraying, only for our side-by-side to not work, but that's being fixed now. We've had some beaver dam removals, some joint ditch tile repairs and cleanouts, and then when the highway department has an extra guy looking to do something, I've had them do some brush grinding along some ditches, and then we'll follow up and spray them. Be easier to access with that done. Some minor repair requests, and then trying to move forward with projects that are in progress or haven't really gotten to the next step yet.
Have you had any problem getting on the property? I mean, the landowners have been,
Yeah. Any landowner I've talked to has really been like, yes, please come look at this. Ongoing and future goals, we kind of talked about it the last time I was here, but simplifying that assessment information and improve clarity when that goes out. They'll better understand what they have to pay, what work was done, and things like that. Completing the projects in limbo, we've got a couple, County Ditch 15 was a big one for tree removal before it can get cleaned. A lot of the landowners on there really want that ditch cleaned. But first step will be removing a lot of trees on the outlet, by the outlet. And then, and that's south of Dassel. And then County Ditch 26, south of Grove City also has been wanting a clean out and needs some tree removal for that as well. And redeterminations, we talked about that already. Efficient and effective ditch spraying system. Right now we have a 65-gallon feeder tank and into our side-by-side, which is a 25-gallon. When I was in Swift County, we had a 300-gallon tank on the back of a truck, and you could actually shoot both sides of the ditch. It was pretty efficient. I'd like to do that for the smaller ditch systems. Then we'd be able to do that in-house. And then the next one, custom spraying schedule, would be for the larger ditch system. So a contractor would be able to do that and keep it on a 3-year rotation. Make sure that brush stays down.
what size truck were you putting that 300 gallon in?
F-250.
Oh, okay. And we've got equipment like that currently, don't we?
Yeah.
Truck-wise?
Trucks, yes.
Okay.
Tanks, no.
Yeah.
And I think the ditch truck is a 3/4 ton, right?
Yes, yep. Optimized field data collection, we used, the, Houston Engineering's thing, why can't I think of it? But that would keep track of all of our, we'd go out in the field, we'd do a point, I could put how big the washout is, and it would pop up on a map back at the office, and then I could keep track of when that was completed, cost of its completion, I could keep track of it all in there. That's $4,000 a year, so, me and Teresa kinda talked about just making our own with GIS, and that would come with the license that we already have. And I think that would be for, a lot of it's just knowing where it is on a map, and then if it's been completed or not is the main thing.
So you're talking like a handheld GPS.
Yeah, and a lot of it was with the phone. You just go out
Okay.
there, take the point with the phone, and then you could move if it needed to be moved at all or adjusted the point. And then, yeah, keep track of all the information right there. And it would just be, yeah, in GIS. And then talked about, getting a drone too for, a lot of that would be just inspection for, can't drive through the wetlands really, so it'd be nice to just fly over, finding beaver dams and stuff a lot efficiently. Keep developing relationships with landowners and contractors, and then more proactive with maintenance.
Excuse me, if you did data collection with a drone, we could actually put that information on file and keep it. Could that be helpful?
Yeah, there are payloads you can do for doing that kind of thing, and then also pictures is a big one. Being able to transfer that from the drone to a computer is easy,
Okay.
and video.
Just, are we moving back to you now, Phil?
Yeah, I guess if you have any ditch questions, maybe get those out of the way now.
Just a comment, and, cause I see Holly in the back there too. Just remember that when we send notices out for meetings, we gotta expand that time, because the post office takes longer to deliver. So if we're sending out a notice, public meeting, gotta give it some extra time.
A lot of extra time, I think it's,
Where postal services used to be next day, and now it's taking a week sometimes.
Yeah.
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 Just keep that in mind when we go to do, if we ever have another redetermination where we gotta have a public meeting or some major cleanout, we wanna give that extra time.
Yeah.
anything else? No? Thank you.
Thanks, Devin.
Thank you.
All right, now I'm gonna walk through our 2025 report, just hit some highlights. First thing I'll touch on is some of our major construction projects from 2025. Just 3 of them I'll reference, because we had 2 that were quite large, the vast majority of our budget. Cassat 3 reclaim up through Manana, Cassat 12 reclaim on the South County line, and then a township project that we had some LRIP funding to help them pave on the south side of town. So Cassat 3 in yellow, that's what that project was. It was a reclaim and pave. It was almost 11 miles long. We ground up the existing pavement, put back new asphalt, slightly wider than what was there. Didn't have space to go 28 feet, which I would like to pave our new tops at, but we did widen it from 24 to 26. Narrow gravel bead on the edge for a shoulder. So not grading, not widening, just new pavement, slightly wider than what was there before. We also replaced the Manana Church parking area, which is adjacent to our road with the project. Final project cost about $3.2 million. The majority was funded through a federal grant. Second reclaim project, same project type. It's way down there in the south edge of the county. About a 5-mile project from Cassat 1 to the McLeod County border. Almost everything's identical, except this road had full shoulders. We were able to widen the pavement from 24 to 28 feet with a narrow gravel shoulder after that. Final project was about $1.9 million. This was all our Cassat funds. Township paving, so you can kind of see in the black there, the two roads that we put together for the township for their LRIP grant they were successful getting. Combination of projects, 620th was paving of a gravel road, 250th was an overlay on existing paved road. Smaller, lower used roads, about a $280,000 project. They had it all paid for by the state's LRIP program. 2025 highway construction costs, so our total program was about $5.4 million, and that's just a summary of where the funds came from. About 2.6 CASA money, 0.5 federal, and then the LRIP funds for the township project there. 2025 maintenance summary. So first we'll talk about maintenance on our state aids, and we'll talk about our maintenance program on the townships. On our state aids, there again, we have our 273 miles that we're responsible for. We spent about $2.34 million on those roads in 2025. It's about a 5% decrease from 2025. Not a huge reduction, but a reduction, which is nice to see. Snow and ice was up a little bit. Pavement surface repairs was down. That's our crack sealing, patching. We just didn't get as much of it completed. Part of that's materials. We bought more materials in 24 that we used in 25. So there's some things that go into those fluctuations. And then our chip seal program was quite a bit smaller in 2025 than what it was the year prior. So pretty big reduction there too. Brush and weed control, that's an ongoing cost. Brush keeps coming in, weeds keep coming back. Then our other category, which is everything else we do, culverts, gravel purchasing, pavement markings, that was up about 8%. So those are the big items that make up that $2.34 million. And then if you look at the township maintenance program, we had about an 11% increase from 2024. Spent about $2.1 million on 679 miles. The biggest chunk of that is gravel road blading. That's where we put the most of our program on the township system, because most of those roads are gravel and we spend a lot of time out there blading them. Snow and ice removal was about $350,000. Brush and weed control, so that's mostly our rural ditch mowing. We don't go too far out on the township roads to control brush all the way back to the right of way, but we do complete rural mowing just like we do in our state aids. Then all other operations was about $405,000. So receipts, the flip side. So our CASA maintenance receipts equaled our expenses in 2025. And you look at what goes into that, $2.31 million came through our CASA maintenance program. So not a lot of levy dollars went into our CASA maintenance program in 2025. And that was partially due to a decent increase in our state aid maintenance program, 9%, compared to what we had in 2024. That was the biggest reason, and then a lighter winter, that always helps cut costs a little bit. It's not everything, but it helps. And then our township maintenance program, that same $2.1 million should equal our expenses. Maintenance fees were up 5%. Billable work to townships was actually down a little bit in 2025. A little more levy, $1.42 million county levy dollar for the maintenance of the township roads. And then when we boil it all down in our report to a percentage of actual costs, so how much are we subsidizing the township maintenance program? We were at 29% in 2025, meaning townships paid for 29% of the program. And our target historically has been 30, so we're close. Any questions on 2025 or?
So we have now, of our half-cent sale tax, we have 1 month in the bank.
Correct. We're not planning to use any this year, but I'd have to see what the availability timeline is. But yes, we started collecting July 1st.
Have you heard anything about an amount of what we did in a month?
We talked about that in budget, Paul, and it'll be October, I think, Heather said before we kinda.
Oh, okay,
We get disbursements quarterly, is that correct, Heather?
okay.
So stay tuned.
What's that?
I said, stay tuned.
Spend local.
We are all anxious to find out.
Yeah, I just wanna see what kind of tells us something about the sales in Meeker County too.
I see you have 3 vacancies still, plus the parks manager. Any traction applicants?
We're gonna put the operator vacancy on hold for now. The technician vacancy is ongoing. That's just a tough spot to find employees. The park situation, we're gonna work through a little bit of an organizational shift is our plan there. What was the other one?
Mechanic.
That's enough.
Mechanic, no mechanic, that's actually filled. We had someone accept an offer recently,
That's great.
so.
Nice.
Good, good,
Yep, so 3, not 4.
awesome.
So Phil, does the technician job have surveying attached to it too?
A little, we don't do a lot of surveying type of work we do, but we do have some survey functionality. Our senior field technician right now does most of our surveying, but it's part of the job. I wouldn't say it's half or anything like that.
Okay, because I had spoke to somebody, recent graduate, and has a job up in Moorhead, or Fargo, one or two, I can't remember, but anyway, I said, well, why don't you come back home and work? And they said, you got surveying attached to the job, and I don't wanna do that. So,
There's really not much of it, so if they're interested, that's not a huge piece. Typically, I get the opposite because they teach a lot of surveying in the tech courses when they go to school. So people come out of school wanting to do a lot of survey work, and we just don't have that much with our project types. If we were doing more full reconstructs, gradings, things like that, there'd be a lot more survey effort in them, but our pavement rehab projects don't require a lot of survey work.
we'll continue to work on them.
Yeah, have them take a look at it. Don't worry about the survey piece.
Anything else?
To that point, I think, like MnDOT does a lot, they have more survey crews and stuff like that, but
They'll typically separate that, so their construction inspectors are separate from their survey group, where we don't need, it's one position here.
I don't know if, I'm not, in counties, I'm not, maybe some of the bigger ones, but a lot of them don't do a lot of surveying in general, do they?
Depends on their project types.
Yeah.
Rural counties are probably more often than not doing what we're doing, which is a lot of pavement rehab, preservation work. There's less survey work.
Yeah.
If you do a road reconstruction, now you have to set out everything. If there's underground, you have to deal with that. You have to set all the grades for your earthwork, and then basically rebuilding the road from scratch. Replacing the pavement similar to where it was, just requires less survey effort.
So you're having to contract that out currently,
Surveying?
if you're redoing them,
No, we try to do it internally.
you still can, okay.
It could be a combination depending on the workload at the time, because surveying, a lot of times takes a second set of hands too. But if we had a rural grading project, and let's say it was our only major project for the summer, I'd expect to do that in-house. We have current staff with the knowledge and equipment to do it.
When the shop reduction starts moving along, I'm curious, does the county own those shops in those areas? So what would happen to those shops once would we sell that property?
That would be my intention.
Okay,
Unless the board wanted to think about alternatives. We've had people reach out at our locations, kind of keeping
interesting.
an eye on things because they're interested in the property.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know, it would be a huge windfall, but I wouldn't plan to hang on to those properties. A number of them are kind of in town on small parcels that we just don't have enough space to build a new shop in that location or anything like that.
we could put them back on the tax rolls.
Yep.
Okay,
Most of them are posted.
yeah,
Sites. I mean,
absolutely.
yeah.
But it might help offset some of the cost a little tiny bit, maybe?
Certainly.
So on our road tours, have Darren and Cheryl seen our shops, or was that?
I have not yet been on a road tour, so.
No,
Well, we have not.
We,
that is unfortunate. We need to work on it.
we need, yes.
That needs to happen.
Not that glamorous.
Probably.
Are there snacks, treats?
You can,
Not usually, but
Bouncy bus, bumpy bus.
you could,
I thought we did one last spring, maybe we didn't.
We haven't, well, that has to be a couple of years ago already.
I don't remember.
We could schedule one
I called in sick on
here, or wait till.
You
next
did,
year.
and I'm going on the next one.
need for me to see it again.
I guess I'm open to it. There's no reason not to do one, other than I think I was off a year on my schedule. Every other year had been kind of my unofficial target.
Perhaps maybe, we should wait till after the first of the year,
Yeah,
because
there
then
you
you'll
And
have
the
a
new,
new person.
yes.
I think spring is typically when we've done it.
Yeah.
So spring
Spring.
is a good time, I think.
Yeah, that's the best time to see some of the issues on the roads. They show up a lot as the frost is coming out. So I'll put one on my schedule to talk about it maybe in the fall to plan one for the spring.
Sounds good.
Anything else?
Yeah, Phil, just, you know, you're always gonna hear the bug in your ear from the people I'm hearing about the parsnip, and so encourage you to keep spraying. That's all I can say, you know, so when I can tell the townships, I bring it up all the time, and, you know.
Yeah, and just so everyone fully understands, townships are responsible for maintaining their own right of way when it comes to weeds. We'll hit some of it with mowing. We're trying to take care of our state aids through contracted spraying, hopefully migrating to more in-house spraying, just so we have more control over effectiveness. We will mow some weeds further outside in our right of way when we need to, but that's not ideal. We'd like to spray the weeds, but it's gonna be ongoing, cause you have townships, MnDOT, county, and then all the private property all fighting the same battle in different ways.
I
And
just-
U.S. Fish and Wildlife saying, no, you're not doing a darn thing within this area.
Federal property.
I just have one more comment on a positive note. I greatly appreciate the speed that you get back to me when someone in our area has a concern. We had a resident that didn't like the concrete pieces left by Lake Ripley and our parks manager isn't available. And then, I wasn't sure who to contact. Phil noted that the DNR was responsible, but they weren't doing it, and it was taken care of within days. And the public really appreciated that. I got some great feedback for you, so thank you.
Good, thank you.
Appreciate your care
We'll respond to public.
quickly and well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tina Schenk. Is not here.
She's outside.
And Kirsten Langerman.
Yep.
Oh, mercy.
She's bringing us flowers.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at that. She made good on her
Sure, those
word.
are for me.
She wasn't kidding, she was taking on the car.
Her Brandy, these are not for you.
Is this coming with a request?
It was such a big
The thing
building.
is, since a vase right in front of each one of us,
Milestone birthday.
That would be lovely, right
Dad,
here.
just like, my future. I didn't even know.
Well, that
I
really
got a milestone. coming up
elevated
too
the
this
room.
year.
Good.
And I will warn you that from your milestone to mine went really quick.
Wow, 30s.
Welcome, ladies.
Ready?
Yep, I think so.
Okay. Good morning. Kirsten Langerman, I think you all know me, but here just to talk a little bit about our programming and just kind of what we've been up to this last year. So I supervise our child protection, child welfare, intake, and licensing. First, I want to chat about my awesome team. We have 4 staff currently who are doing child protection. One of them is on leave right now, Beth, Kenzie, Lindsay, and Jessica. Sarah is still working in truancy, and Morgan and Danielle is stepping into, she's our newest worker, is doing PSAP, some of our educational neglect stuff, and some projects that we're working on currently with the school's impact that I'll talk about in a little bit. And then Jenny and Tina are our duo doing licensing and intake. Jenny's kind of been solo this summer because Tina's also out unexpectedly, so she's been hopping, just kind of keeping things afloat. And then our case aide Christine, who just keeps everything running smoothly, so.
Can I, sorry, there's a license and intake, what does that mean? What's licensing?
Yep, I'll have a slide on that.
Huh?
So,
Alright,
we'll go through kind of what each program kind of does a little bit here quickly. So our intake, Jenny and Tina, they take intake for all of our social services units, and we recently just took on taking public health intakes as well. So they do min-choice referrals, adult mental health referrals, CMH, child protection reports, any licensing complaints, new requests for licensing, community resources. A lot of times we just get calls from people not sure what their needs are, they're looking for resources, and they connect them with different resources. And then public health is just kind of a wide variety, whether it's parents as teachers, family home visiting, Project Harmony, kind of trying to streamline that. Our goal with that, with trying to make sure that we're in a parallel process with public health in, if someone's calling in for a service, that we can fully assess what are their needs, what are the best services that we have to offer, and are there additional services outside of the agency? So really just trying to ensure that we're not working in silos, and that was our goal with taking on some of the public health referrals. Child Protection does the assessments, investigations, case management. So that includes voluntary case management, placements, and then our permanency caseloads as well. Child welfare includes truancy. Sarah does a lot of assessments. We get referrals at 3 days, 5 days absence, and then 7 days absence, and then case management if they need to roll into that. And then the voluntary services include safety planning, connecting people to services. And then our parent support outreach program, we also just do assessments and case managements through that, a lot of safety planning and connecting to resources. The licensing programs that Tina and Jenny do include our child foster care programs, our family child care, and then all the adult foster care programs as well. And I'll still get into a little more detail on that. So intake, I kind of already explained this. So they take all the reports. When we get referrals for child protection or reports, we also send those out to our full MDT team, which includes local law enforcement, county attorney's office, just so they can also review, determine if there's any criminal aspect or if we need to take it to CHIPS court for child protection, or just coordinate our investigations together. And then they also participate in screening when we screen reports, and then kind of are the agent of getting everything to all the other units who, when we get a referral in for other services, so connecting those intakes to the right people. So these are kind of the intake statistics, 2026 year to date compared to 25. So we've just a couple highlights. Adult mental health, we're currently at 77 new referrals this year. Adult protection, we don't take adult protection, those come through the state, but there's been 185 of those, 278 through adult services, 233 child protection, 89 child welfare, 47 CMH. So we've been pretty busy and on track to about the same amount of intakes that we completed last year. So they stay pretty busy with the intakes.
So one of the reasons that we do intake this way is a lot of times you all ask me about duplication of service or how do we make sure we're coordinating service. When we have intake that can do all of the programming, they can best match. All of these programs have a little bit different eligibility criteria. For instance, PSAP, you have to have a child in the home that's under 10. So they know those things, and then they can best match the program so that we're not duplicating services, but we're bringing exactly what the best fits the need. So we've worked for a long time, and Kirsten and her team and really the agency, especially adding public health, that was a heavy lift this year in terms of their different computer systems. So there was a lot to overcome, and how do we do that effectively, make sure that we get everything still documented the way it needs to. So that was a really nice piece of work, both for our community and also for public health and the social services units to be able to coordinate better and work together, more integrated.
So, Kristen,
Yep.
when I look at that childcare licensing,
Yes.
only 4 this year, even if that's half year, we're gonna be down.
So childcare licensing, I mean, we have, those might be new inquiries or investigations, but the current, I have the numbers later on the current home. So that's just how many new intakes we've taken this year. So I think maybe we had one who inquired for a new license. I don't know that they actually did get licensed, but that's kind of where that's at. So our childcare, it's not the current number that's currently licensed, just new inquiries, but.
So once you've gone through it, so Cheryl was going to be childcare provider and she got a license, would that be good indefinitely, or how do you?
Yep, there's renewal processes, so they have to, they're on what's called a continuous license now. So Jenny's doing our childcare licensing, and so she goes and visits. It's like every other year they have to have a visit and they have to have their license updated and their training and all of that. And so it's good as long as they keep up on it. And then if there are issues, we'll look at that as like a correction order. Like they didn't have their training done. That's kind of a big one this year because they just changed to the continuous licenses, and their years kind of got off. So a lot of providers are still acclimating to some of those new changes. And we do have a few that are looking to relocate, so we may have some closing. So we'll talk about the Child Care Coalition and kind of what we're working on there as well, so.
Okay, thank you.
Question, how are we with child foster care homes? Do you have an adequate number of that?
I have the numbers in another slide.
Okay,
and I
sorry
think
to get
it-
ahead of
Nope,
you.
that's okay, yep. There's a lot of different programs, so it is a lot to kind of cover through, so
We'll get there. Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Go ahead,
Sorry, Madam Chair.
go ahead. Steve.
One question that's come up to me a few times in the public, and it's basically, because of headline news, let's call it, is, 431 childcare centers and fraud and all this. Do we, and I can't answer that, and I hate the answer, I don't know, to a constituent. But so when we're looking at, like in Meeker County, how can you just kind of quickly walk us through how you verify somebody who is eligible for funding? I don't even know how they would be eligible for funding, but a daycare provider or a provider, if they're taking state funds or whatever, and how we monitor that and how we verify that is, sorry if that's not time for that question.
It's okay.
It's one that's,
It's
I've got,
lead, right?
okay,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
there, yeah.
So when they're talking about childcare fraud, Kirsten's team does the licensing, so they're making sure the home is safe to provide childcare and the provider is qualified. They're not dealing with the money part of it. There are people that have used childcare are probably familiar with like the food program and things like that, so we're checking documentation in that way. But what they're talking about when they're talking about childcare fraud is that we came in a couple weeks ago and talked to you about needing a wait list for our child care assistance program, and that's what they're talking about. So the child care assistance, whether it's centers or in-home child cares, the family has to qualify financially, and then there's some state and dollars that flow through the county to help cover that. It's on a sliding fee scale, so it's based on their income. It may not pay for all of their child care, but maybe they get $100 a week help or something like that.
Sure.
So the fraud comes in when centers are billing for children that aren't present at the time of the service. So they're billing for the service when the child has not attended that day. And what happens on our end is that we get, when a family is on child care assistance, we get those attendance records and then we issue payment. There has been some consternation at times because, as you can imagine, it's a lot of paperwork for providers, and we only post pay. So we want the records first, and then we have 20 days to issue those payments. So we have a process in Mally's unit and the eligibility unit, the children's portion of the family portion now of our kind of dual eligibility unit that looks at those records, the requests for payment, processes that, ensures that the family is still qualified, all of those things, and then issues the payment. So that's how we handle it here. The risk of fraud is, did the family attend or not? So we get those attendance records is what comes into us with the request for payment. I don't know how other counties handle that. I suppose someone could still be untruthful, but we do check those attendance records.
So if we're going by records, we don't really see the bodies of the daycare, so, I mean, that's where it started, right? They opened a daycare center with no children. They just reported that there was kids there and they were getting paid, so.
And these are bigger counties.
Right.
That the family still has to come in and be eligible for that. So I don't know if there were other funding streams that they
I
were
don't-
accessing, but in Meeker
I
County.
think it was more than just that. I mean, it's kind of like the,
Well, and I'm concerned about what,
Yeah.
we can only take care of what we can
Right.
take care of here, and.
so it sounds like we're doing everything we can.
Yeah,
We also do, if we get an allegation, we do have a fraud investigator
Sure.
that we share with Wright County, so he would go out and investigate, and he does. He's here a couple times a month, and the staff, if they have questions, there's like certain triggers that if they see something going on in a case, whether or not it's childcare, He takes a look at it, he investigates that, and then if there is suspected fraud, he escalates that depending on what kind it is. It may even go to Brandy's office, depending on what it is. Or law enforcement to investigate, I guess would be then Brandy's office. So we do have multiple mechanisms. We do have people call in and report fraud, and we do investigate those claims as well. So there are, I think in a smaller community, it's a little bit harder because there's more eyes on the whole system. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but we do pay attention to those things. We have several levers that we can pull to try and make sure that we're on the up and up and that all of our programs are running as fraud-free as possible. And if somebody is, you know, trying to, typically what we find are people make mistakes. It's not intentional. But if there is intentional things that are going on, we do have ways that we try and look for those things and then respond to them. So.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Darren, go ahead.
when we get the family resource centers going, and there's maybe a little bit more visibility and service and connections with the community, are we gonna expect some of these numbers to change? And if they go up next year, would that be like, hey, that's a success, as opposed to something, you know, that we'd be concerned about?
Which numbers go up?
Just curious. Well, I mean, that's,
Yeah, I mean, I think we certainly want to be able to connect people to the appropriate services. So if they are asking for voluntary services, like mental health services and things like that, I would hope that those numbers would then be able to go up while reducing, hopefully, our child protection numbers, right? Intakes are a little bit hard because it's not indicative of actually how many assessments were open. This is just how many reports or referrals we took. It doesn't actually mean that these were all eligible for those services either. But I think our hope would be that either some of these go up or that they're getting direct access to those other services through our partner agencies versus coming through us. I feel like a lot of times our agency is the hub for people call us because they're not sure where else to go, and then we kind of connect them where they need to go. So for example, if they need, they want children's mental health services, but they don't have a DA, we'll open up a child welfare case and then work with them to go get their diagnostic assessment, get them eligible for that service, and then pass it on. You know, so we're kind of doing a lot of that work of connecting and that prevention work, and our hope would be that we could direct access right to our partners in the Family Resource Center. So I think we will expect changes in the numbers, what that'll look like.
well, I'm just want us to all be kind of aware of that, you know, because that's, I think, a really gonna be an effective connection to the community to give the community access to the appropriate resources. And those numbers are probably, I'm almost counting on it. You almost wanna see that, because that would definitely indicate that that Family Resource Center is doing what it is intended to do.
Absolutely.
Well, we always hope in HHS that we become the Maytag repairman, you know, and run out of work, but that
Yes.
doesn't seem to be the case.
Okay. So child protection, just a brief overview. So we meet daily to screen reports. We have to screen reports within 24 hours of receiving them. Some of our reports, we also have to physically see the alleged victim within 24 hours of receiving the report. So some days we're screening more frequently depending on what type of report comes in. We use the child protection screening guidelines. Again, we send those through our MDT, so if they have questions about how we screened or want to join in on the call, they're always more than welcome to do that as well.
Can you say who's on the MDT again?
Yep, county attorney's office, and then whichever local law enforcement agency jurisdiction, so if it's the sheriff's department or Litchfield PD.
Or do we still have Project Harmony Public Health on there?
Oh, public health is on as well, yep. So, one of our public health staff does join for screening most days, and that's also just to help streamline if we get a report of a pregnant mom who might be using or has young kids and might be eligible, then we can streamline that service as well with SAP and Project Harmony coordinating their efforts to contact the family. So if we receive a report, we can screen it in, again, for family assessment, which is a 5-day response, family investigation, which is a 24-hour response, or a facility investigation. And those depend, sometimes they're 24 hours, sometimes they're 5 days. If we screen it out, we either refer to PSAP, to child welfare, or we don't take any action depending on what the report is and the concerns in that report.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
question? I would really be curious to know how many people are I mean, our goal obviously would be for people to go out of this system healthier and able.
Yep.
Do we have a number for that? How many people are going out compared to how many are coming in?
We just so I don't know if SSIS has that direct number of like, when they're leaving, but our recurrence of maltreatment, which is if we have a family investigation and we determine maltreatment, there's a federal measurement that measures if they've re-entered the system and maltreatment's been redetermined within 12 months, and that we're at 0 right now. I will say with the family assessments, it's a little bit different, because we don't make a maltreatment determination. There are a lot of families that we never see come back through the system, and then we have some families who have a lot of kind of chronic issues that are occurring or are borderline poverty or mental health that is, it's kind of right at that line. And so we tend to try to open them up for case management and work with them longer term, but we may still get new referrals as we're working with them as well. So I don't have a specific number in there, and I can try to pull that sometime too and just look at that. But
These caseloads do turn over though quite a bit.
Okay.
So, the assessment investigation workers, I mean, they're 45 days that they're working with folks, and then they'll either set up like a case management that can go longer, or oftentimes we'll hand off to a different service provider, maybe through us, or maybe it's like they got connected with therapy or some other agency. And I will say that some of our success that we've seen, I have one family in particular in mind, we did a lot of work with, and they were doing great for like 3 years probably. And mom started to notice some things that were with mental health, that she was struggling, and she came back voluntarily and asked for help. Like, this is impacting my parenting. Can you help me again? That I consider a success. It's not that people don't have struggles, but can we work with them when they need it? Can we pull back, and then can they see us as a resource in the future? That would be ideal, if needed.
And we have a lot, I would say, since we have started dedicating one worker to PSAP, we have a lot of families who will call. Sometimes we're like, you're not really eligible. They, maybe want some help with certain things, and they really are doing well. And so we have to kind of look at each case as they come in to determine eligibility, but they are calling and asking for help when they need it on the front end, before we receive reports. So I think that is really cool to see, that they are accessing that earlier before we get those reports. So.
Is that, are they able, I mean, what, if they're ineligible for assistance, but, physical assistance, but are they able to use, do you find it that they're able to, we're able to share resources and stuff to guide them? Do they become more navigable in that area of finding some resources on their own as they progress? Do you witness that, or
Yeah,
I mean,
sometimes families are already working with a multitude of providers, and then something just kind of pops off, and they're like, "Hey, PSAP helped me before. Maybe that can help now." But they're still engaged with their providers or finding other resources. We have really savvy families who can, like, they know kind of who's around and what services are available, and I think they utilize them when they're able to, once they're connected. So I think we have a lot of providers who build really good relationships with those families as well, so they're feel comfortable to come back, and if they can't find something, they'll ask. But
okay,
And it could be physical resources, but it could also be.
just
like
information, something to guide you.
And with PSAP, we really try to, because there are funds, like allocations that we can help families out, but we do ask them to participate in case planning. We're not just going to hand out the money without them following through with whatever their concerns are. So if they're, struggling with parenting and they need their tires fixed, okay, well, how can we connect you with parenting and make sure that's effective and still allow you to get back and forth to work and keep that going, right? So we look at a lot of those pieces. We do a lot of budgeting with families on if we're gonna help you, you're behind in rent this month, but how are we gonna make sure that you can keep that going if we pay for it this time? Because we're not gonna pay for it and then you be in the same position next month and then you get evicted and now you don't have anywhere to live, right? And so we do a lot of that kind of upfront, and by we, I mean Morgan is doing a lot of that work with them in budgeting, and she, comes to me and will be like, okay, what other ideas? Like, here's kind of where we're stuck at. And sometimes they just need that extra little help to keep moving forward and prevent something further from happening, so. Okay, I think we already checked that. So here's our statistics for 2026. So far this year, we've had 31 assessments, 18 investigations. 8 of those have been in the last 2 months, so we've been really busy, being down a couple workers. So we haven't had any facility investigations. CSAP, we're at 21 assessments, and then 11 case management, and truancy, we're at 39. So a lot of those families, I mean, to your point of who's coming back, like our numbers are, you know, right now, a little lower than where we were at last year, but we know that things spike up as soon as school typically starts. Usually summer's our slow time, but it's been really busy this summer, so we'll kind of see how that plays out. And then we've just been doing a lot more of that early intervention with the families as well, and working with the schools to help refer them directly. So the one piece here with our truancy as well, we're working with PACT and the schools to kind of, we were noticing a gap with our older youth who are 17 once they can sign themselves out of school, and not really having independent living services or things like that. And so we're working with them to kind of partner to see if they can get into the journey to independence or some of those independent living skills earlier on when we're seeing that there might be a need for that as well. So
Kirsten,
Yep.
truancy, of course, easy to monitor during the school year. What do you do June, July, and August?
it's dependent. So if we have a youth who has had chronic truancy and they ended the year still not doing super well, we stay open through the summer to make sure that they're in their other services that are likely the root causes of why truancy is involved in the first place. And then Sarah spends a lot of that time kind of cleaning up the other caseloads, getting, you know, those other people closed out. But a lot of times we do stay open with them through the summer if it's been a chronic issue. If they resolve that by the end of the school year, we may close up and then wait for those referrals to come back in. We were just joking. So I was like, well, we have a little while before we'll get a referral. And Sarah's like, well, we made it 7 days last year before our first one. So she's like, now you think. So we're hoping with PACT in the schools to just continue to build those relationships and help, again, streamline those services. So with their school liaison and being able to come into some of those meetings where we otherwise weren't meeting with those youth as intently because they're not, they have the right to sign themselves out of school and stuff like that. So, and the courts aren't typically as concerned about a 17-year-old because there's not a lot we can do in that short period of time. But we still felt like it was really important to set them up for success in adulthood and kind of bridge that gap. So Sarah, Morgan, and Danielle kind of got thrown into that, have been working on that project this summer, trying to get that up and running. So,
And Sarah's also cross-trained in all of our other program areas too, so if there were reasons why, like, all the kids were closed, she would just move for the summer into those other things, so.
well, and she has some cases that flip to, yeah, she's usually pretty busy. She has a lot of the kiddos that she works with they have a lot of underlying concerns, right? There's either juvenile delinquency involved, mental health, sometimes parenting things where we actually flip it to a child protection case. So those kids, I mean, there's a lot of needs that they tend to have, and she's on the ground with them, trying to help them work through those concerns. So I would say that a lot of our cases are really complex cases now. So here's the licensing program. So we license child foster care, adult foster care, and family child care. So with our child foster care, we license just general providers. We license family homes. And so we have a process where if a child enters care and there's a family member who would like to care for them, we can do an emergency license to get that child with their family immediately versus having to wait through the whole licensing process. So we do both of those. And then our licensor, so Tina does child foster care, provides support for the providers. So we've been doing some monthly check-ins with them, providing them information and resources. They monitor compliance and statutory regulations. And then if an investigation needs to come through, they will complete the investigation, the licensing piece of the investigation. If it's also child protection, then we'll do that in a coordinated effort. So the numbers, so we have 13 homes currently licensed for child foster care. And it's hard to gauge whether that's enough or not, because when we need them, we really need them. So we've had a recent incident, and we struggled to find that placement for those kids that we needed that for. And then there's a lot of times where we don't have kids in placement, and then they're kind of like, okay, well, what are we doing now? And so we've been trying to figure out a good balance of how do we maintain foster care providers in a meaningful way, so when we need them, we have them. And it is a lot of time and commitment for people. So we usually try to place with relatives when we can, though. So I think our rates for placing with relatives are really high. So then we license those relatives, and they typically drop off after permanency or once the kids go home. We don't stay licensed for general foster care. So I think most of our homes right now are full, either with other counties or with the kiddos that we have. So adult foster care licensing, so we do family adult foster care, and then we do the CRS, community residential setting. So with the family adult foster care, that's the family home where the residents reside or where the providers reside with the residents. And then the community residential settings, we only license the physical plant, and then the state licenses the people who work there and complete any investigations in that respect, unless it's due to the physical location, then we conduct those investigations. So, and then family child care, Jenny's been doing that. She's fully trained now, really hit the ground running. She's working on improving, the information for providers, providing clear information for them so they know what to expect. Again, there's been a lot of changes with the licensing, just the continuous licenses and what that means for providers and our ability to monitor them in a different way, because historically they've always known when we would be coming to visit their home. And now we are able to switch that up year to year. So we can go out there in the winter and in the summer and be able to see the differences in what that might look like for their home and how it's operating. And then there's a lot of different regulations that are coming out. I think they're effective January 1. So we're just working through kind of trying to figure all that out, work with the state to figure out what is the direction they're going to be giving, and figure out how we can support our providers so they can continue to provide this service. So we have the Child Care Coalition, and it is moving a little bit slow, but we have a meeting this month. We have some creative ideas on how to get some more like legally non-licensed and different ways to promote some of the family child care licensing. And so we're working through that now that we have Jenny fully trained in and have a little bit more capacity there, so.
Darren?
I'm just curious, it's odd, is like the graphic on there has like a medical, like a stethoscope? Is there any?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's that much.
I look at those things.
Just a picture that I pulled through here. Yeah. That's it.
AI created the picture.
Yeah.
Don't put too much stock in it.
I'll change it next time.
I'm just curious, it just got me thinking, so where's the medical part of this?
I have a question, and I don't know, outcomes are very important to me. And I don't know if you have any way to measure that, but what I'd really like to hear is this child was part of our programming, part of our system. Our staff came alongside of them, and here are the good results. We want to know that what is happening is effective, and so I would like to hear in maybe reports going forward if that, I don't even know if that's possible, because kids age out and who knows what happens to them. But I would like to know that what you're doing, the effectiveness of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that it's there,
Right.
but I think the public would like to know too, that because we address some of these things at the child, when some of these kids are in the worst part of their life, that it has a great effect going forward. And I don't know if there's any way to measure that or see that, but I think that we would like that information as well, if that's possible at all.
I think there are, like Kirsten mentioned, the maltreatment determination. There are federal and state measures that are taken. Just sat through a meeting the other day because they're changing the state measures, so those have been suspended right now. So there's a little less information out there because they had been measuring some things. They're changing how they're doing that right now, and they're trying to figure out what measures are meaningful moving forward. What I would share with you is that research in the child welfare field is very difficult because you have to be able to have a researcher come in at a point where somebody is getting services, which is often very scary for them. It's maybe the worst day of their lives. And, oh, can I do informed consent for research on you, right? Like that is very, very difficult. So some of the outcomes, like long-term that you're talking about, would really require research. I think what we have individual stories, and then we have the statistical results that we can pull from SSIS, which is difficult. Like Kristen was trying to explain, like, if somebody comes back, somebody does a child protection investigation, has a maltreatment determination, and they come back later for voluntary services, we see that as a positive.
Absolutely.
But if they come back in again and again and again because they continue to harm the child, that would be the negative, right? And we don't see, the investigations are the most egregious there where there's been physical harm. There's some other examples, like
Sexual abuse.
it's typically the most egregious pieces, and we don't see recurrence of that. We haven't had recurrence. I want to say it's been like 6 years, but maybe we've had one but we haven't seen recurrence in that measurement in particular for a really long time. And again, those are the most egregious. So what it tells me from a higher level is when we're going and we're doing safety and we're making arrangements for the children, that, like if it's a sexual abuse case, that doesn't continue to occur.
Right.
That doesn't mean that there aren't, in those kids, if you think about it, they're probably going to need therapy. That's a really hard thing, right? So the families may struggle with other things throughout that child's life because of that incident, but that incident isn't continuing to occur is what the stats are telling us at this point.
Thank you.
They're not some of those get complicated too, just because of mobility issues. I mean, there's people that they'll move to different counties, they'll
Right.
move to different states.
Right.
It's very difficult to
Yeah.
maintain that consistency of your population,
Yeah,
especially in those kind of situations.
yes.
Well, and I think in county government in general, I mean, we provide, our widget is service, right? You know, we don't build anything, so that there's not factual numbers that we produced this much and we sold this much. It's not that way. It's service. And the only time you get a report is when you didn't provide the service good enough. You know, I mean, is typically when you make the newspaper, you know, so.
Absolutely.
So that's the challenge.
That's the
And that's always a challenge. But,
Yeah.
but that don't mean we don't keep, going back out there every day.
Yeah, at least not in involuntary way, right? And there are hard things, even in our voluntary services, there are many really, really tough things. But when people are asking for assistance and we can walk beside them the best we can and with the resources we have, I think that's ideal.
And with NAPA CWDA, the reporting that's currently requested in that statute does include a little bit more of that qualitative data of like what were the barriers, how'd they overcome the barriers, like what did the agency do? So it's getting into more of that qualitative information. So we've been having discussions in our team of how do we document our case notes in a way that we can easily pull that information if we're the ones going to be doing that work or even the state. And so we've been just having through the documentation of that so we can better see some of that information. I don't know how, like if those are going to be public or kind of how they're going to use that data, but that is what they're proposing is some more of that qualitative information on more so probably what the agency is doing versus the outcomes, but I think it leads into the outcomes a little bit. So, and with MAPA CWDA, we've been doing a lot of work within our team. Morgan was a part of the safety practice or the safety planning best practice guide. So she participated in that work group to help write that best practice guide.
For the state?
Yep, for DCYF. And then I'm currently on the active efforts best practice guide work group. So we're writing the best practice for active efforts as it pertains to MAPA CWDA and they're incorporating some ICWA stuff in there. And then we've been also working through the SSIS and the CWIS system. So we've been doing mapping of all of our processes, talking through what are the pain points of SSIS, one of them being when people move counties, like for us to access those systems, we have to go through a whole remote system. We can't even access it directly through SSIS. And so the information is just in so many different places that it's hard to be able to, we can get it, it just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to do. And so as we're looking through, like, where are the gaps in SSIS, here's how our process is, here's where we're duplicating documentation 6 different times in SSIS, that's taking away from our time to be able to spend with families. And so we're currently mapping all those processes out with the state. And then I am going to be on the CWIS, I don't even know which work group this is called, but something to help with the RFP.
Good, I'm glad I'm not the only one, I can't remember.
I'm on the partnership one, and I don't know, there's like the CWIS one is actually going to be, so I'm on the SSIS partnership one, which we're working through how do we keep SSIS functional through the time until we have the new system, and then I'll be on the CWIS one that's reviewing all the RFPs for whoever puts in a proposal and looking through their proposal, doing the demos and making those selections for that. So that's slated for this fall. And so we've just been kind of looking at, like, where are those other pain points? What information would we like to pull easily for reports and documentation and outcomes and things like that? And so that's been all the conversations that we've been having with the state and in these different work groups. And so, yeah, it's been.
Can I just add, as long as we're in that work group space, I mean, for the rest of the board, because I gotta think of which ones I sit on, even, you know, SNAP and then ICS,
Yeah.
Incident Command, I call it, but it's not that, but I think it's good, cause like, I think it was yesterday, I got an email, you know, and some of this stuff, I'm glad there's professionals on there that work in this arena, because the questions are like, there's no way a commissioner, and we, as commissioners, we talk about it that are on these work groups, it's like, some of the stuff is technical stuff, there's no way I can't give you a good answer. I mean, it's like, this gotta come from somebody that works on it, so it's good to know that we have a couple folks from Meeker County sitting in on these work groups, cause there's a lot of big stuff going on here.
And it's important for our team to represent rural, right? Like, we have a lot of bigger counties who have a lot of additional supports who help with this data entry and who can help do those things, and we don't have that here. So it's our staff doing that data entry. This summer when we've been down staff, like, that's me. I'm on the ground, literally, like, doing the SSIS, doing our paperwork to send to the state, like, helping with case plans, like, actually doing those things, because there's not enough time in the day to both provide the active efforts, get the visitation, go to court, write the court reports, write the case plans, like, all that stuff. Like, when we have this much stuff come in at one time, like, we don't have support. So every minute that is spent redocumenting the same stuff that we've already documented is important for us. You know, it saves us time, it saves us money, and it ultimately gives us the ability to provide more service to our families. And so it's really important for our team when we're looking at that, to look at it from that lens of, like, we're doing all that work.
And also for like Saturday morning, I'm at the parade in Watkins, and I get a text message from Angie Youngerberg, you need to check your county email and get back to me ASAP. You know, and I know Tina was in that, so me and Tina are texting during the day and, you know, answering questions for her. So this is all because the farm bill is coming up into pretty closing discussions, if you will, this week, and that affects SNAP and stuff. So there's a lot of moving pieces here, and then 3-4 commissioners you're texting with all weekend long here too, trying to get everybody on the same page. So a lot of this stuff is after work hours. I mean,
I need Heather's personal phone so that I can pull her into the numbers piece. I think that this was a goal, so what we're talking about right now, slightly off topic, but I think it's an important point. I think one of the things that Andrew and I talked about when I was hired is having the agency's voice more represented in these statewide groups. And what you just heard Kirsten talk about is where her team is sitting with that. So when we have Morgan attend as the safety planning best practice guide, that pulls the work that we're doing into the state level so that it's fully funded, so it's supported by the best practice, and we have a voice there. And then all of the different committees that Kirsten sits on, that's the same thing. One of the big pieces of work that was done this year is there's something called a Family First Preservation Act, and there's some candidacy, meaning what criteria do the clients have to meet this funding stream. Well, Kirsten used her voice on that team to make sure it aligned with our PSOP program, because our staff do both of those programs. We don't have this misalignment where we have these staff doing this and this staff doing this. And then it also built that potential group of clients, if we ever get federal approval on our plan, so that we can use motivational interviewing, which we've talked about, which is a higher payment source when we're working with families, that we get a higher reimbursement. So we start to lay this foundation and build these pieces when we have that voice at the state level that really impact things on the ground here. So I think that was good vision. I think on Andrew's part, it's very well supported by this board, and especially having Steve in on most of those types of committees too. And then we have, our powerhouses that have done the work on that. So it's been a really nice collaboration, I think, from Meeker's standpoint to push that forward into the state level, so.
Thank you.
That's basically what I was gonna say. Is just please extend our appreciation to your whole department for all they're doing, because we recognize that. And there's not that much we can do, really, to affirm that. But really, let your teams know that they're appreciated. And if there's anything in specific that would be helpful, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, and I think we do, I think we have done that. And we do really appreciate Maxa and AMC because they lead that, right? Like, so I think this county has been really supportive of those, of participation and the funding streams for those advocacy groups. So I think that's important.
Got a little sidetracked, but here's the numbers for the homes. We're on licensing. So 13 foster care homes, 3 adult foster care homes, 16 CRSs, and then 28 family child care currently. So, and then I didn't include anything about kind of where we're at with the Family Resource Center project, but I will just say, like, we've started working on branding for that, naming, getting kind of our core group aligned with how we make decisions, and getting our operational guides ready, and we're hoping to, be able to hire for that soon to get that kind of kicked off, up and running, so.
Madam Chair, family child care, is that 28, where's that number, how's that fit in our historical?
I think in the last several years, we fluctuate like 5 open, 5 closed, so we're right around that 30 mark typically each year, so.
I know there's 2 newer ones up by me, and, but I also know that northern part of the county at one point, when I was on the one committee, was better off than other parts of the county, but I was just curious, I couldn't remember what the number was, 30 was what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's typically right around there. I think there is one community, and now I can't recall if it was Watkins. I think it was Watkins that we just had one close, and so now there's no place there. It's either Watkins or Eden Valley, and so I know Jenny's like on that, thinking through that. How do we kind of get some recruitment? That's part of our goal too with the lead workers, is having someone to be able to help also guide some of that work, or be able to get some more recruitment and efforts there as well. With that many licensed homes and doing intake, it's really hard to have some of that extra time, especially because she's trained in on how to do the basics, but still learning, still trying to figure out how does the program work for her and all the changes coming down. And so that's part of the coalition too. And we pulled in another one of my staff to join that work group to help us with that work as well. We do see the value in it, and we know that our community needs it. We're still down some slots. And I don't have those numbers, but I know that was in the assessment that creating communities put out for the FRC. It had kind of the slots in the different communities and what we were still needing in each community, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Questions is the next thing. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Andrew Letson.
A handful of items for you today. First off, kind of as a follow-up to the special meeting that we had last week on working with DDA to do the administrator recruitment. As you know, we've been working to schedule times for individual conversations with all of you and the department head team, with Pat, who's the consultant on there. Those are all scheduled, the ones that are scheduled are for Friday, in the admin conference room, and you've selected your own times. I've also emailed out the schedule, so you all have that as well. Each are 30 minutes long. Included in that email was a discussion guide that will help. Those are the things that he wants to talk about with you, so you can hopefully be prepared to have that conversation. There are a handful of folks who were unable to meet on that day, either because they had a conflict or we ran out of slots. And so those individuals have been encouraged to reach out to Pat directly to schedule a time for a Teams meeting. As far as the contract and a couple of the other things that we discussed, I had a conversation with Pat yesterday. They no longer offer a 2-year guarantee. It's one of the things that they've moved away from, but in exchange, what they are including now is 12 months of coaching for people that they're including with this hire to, with the goal of being that rather than replacing a person, you help make them successful. They're gonna provide us with a contract review. Brandy and I have already talked about that, and I'll send it over to her as soon as I get it, so. But we're gonna keep moving forward in the interim. They're comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that. We don't wanna delay things, while we go through that process. The goal of the kickoff conversations on Friday are going to be to help, all of you understand what the process is, but then also start putting together information for the position profile, which we'll get a chance to take a look at here in the next couple of weeks. The goal is that they'll have it together by August 18th, and then we have a meeting that day, so I can bring that to all of you on that day. One other item that's been kind of starting to bubble to the surface is the sheriff's office has a shed or building over by the Litchfield wastewater plant and the fairgrounds. That building, there's been some conversation over the past few years, myself, the sheriff, the city, and I think I've talked to some of you about this as well. With the city's expansion of their wastewater plant, there was question of whether or not that shed was gonna be impacted. As of right now, the most recent set of plans, it is gonna be impacted, which means it's gonna have to be relocated somewhere else. We've had some internal discussions about other sites that we could potentially place it, and we are space limited within within Litchfield to be able to place this. The sheriff and I have a conversation scheduled, I believe it's next week, with the city administrator to talk about some potential options that they have identified on the existing property. And so we'll come back to you at some point with some further conversation about this, but it is something that, I don't know what this is gonna look like. I don't know what cost shares are gonna look like and all of that, but it's something that we haven't talked about as we've gone through the budget process, so I wanted to make sure you're all aware that this will be coming down the road. I've had conversations with the sheriff of whether or not this continues to be a necessary site for us. And, with the amount and the types of equipment that are in there, we don't have other sites to be able to place those. We've had conversations about placing it elsewhere in the county, and there's concerns about response times and things like that for if it was to be placed elsewhere. So we're gonna continue to explore it, and I'll come back at a future date with some more information for you, but just wanted to give you all a heads up about that. And then last two things, thank you to everyone who helped call bingo on Thursday last week. Our annual thing that we do at the fair in conjunction with the city of Litchfield and the Litchfield School District. We were able to raise $515 for the food shelf, so very excited about that. I'm gonna be off next Thursday and Friday for a little family vacation, and that's it. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner reports, Paul?
Not too much. Since our last meeting, we did have the Prime Health meeting, of which Andrew now has the rates, Andrew and Mikkel. So they were solidified. We voted to approve them. We had to wait. It was a long discussion before approving because we tried to look at options to maybe lower the increase. But when it all was said and done, the majority felt that our actuaries had done a good job of predicting 2026 so far. So we believe that the actuaries did their job again for 2027 and voted to follow their recommendation. So then CPT and Morris, we are working to do two items. Number one was we needed to do an evaluation of our executive director. And we came up with a doodle poll, which went in and you answered certain questions, and then you had a spot to make comments. Because there are 24 people who are evaluating this individual. So it's a work in progress, but I really like it. Andrew, in the past, has always given us the slate of questions. We've responded to do his evaluation. This year, we potentially won't have an evaluation to do. Our evaluation will be within the interviews that we have for the position, so. But it's something to look at, is how we do our evaluations, and maybe DDA can help us with that.
Sure.
Come up with a good scenario. Second was, at CPT, we did talk, we had Todd County, who switched their program from our timekeeping at CPT to another company. Then asked to be done with their contract immediately. And so the discussion became, wait a minute now, you signed a 3-year contract. You decided before the three-year contract was up to leave. We budget based on that contract. So we cannot allow you to get out of your contract. And it was pretty much unanimous that, no, you're going to pay the remainder of your contract until the end. And I think that's the way we have to do business. So I felt
We
that
have
was
contracts.
you know, I mean, when you budget for it, that's what creates the issue, because now what are you gonna do? Take the money away? Now your budget's affected, so, yeah. That's it for my reports.
Cheryl?
Okay, spent the last couple weeks, several days in budget. And I'll let Steve expound on that if he chooses to, but I will say this. The levy percentage has been cut nearly in half from the very start, the dream number,
More than half.
more than half to where we are now.
Good job.
And that's been difficult, but necessary, I believe. And then we did have one day also of union negotiations where we've heard their initial proposal. And then we'll be responding to those going forward. But yeah, that has taken up pretty much the last 2 weeks. So that's it. Thank you.
Karen?
Well, thank you, Paul, for the CPT report, since I would planned on being there virtually, but that was the day that the guy ran over the electric pole in Dassel.
Oh,
And we had no power.
No power.
Until 3 in the afternoon. I was like, oh, they expected it to be back at 9:30, and oh, that'll be enough time, and then,
There's still lines laying on the ground.
I know.
so things got warm in Dassel, did they?
Pardon?
Did things get warm in Dassel?
Oh, it was
Clinic was
not a good day.
Oh,
but,
no, that's not good.
Did you?
Clinic was down all day.
Oh, well, yeah, it was bad. It was frustrating. But anyway, so I figured that, and then the other meeting was, I sat in on with Steve anyway, cause he was kinda involved in the emergency services board.
Okay.
So, and I didn't really, wasn't a ton of going on there,
Budget.
but there was no huge changes, were there?
It was down 3.5%, so, our portion, Meeker's portion,
So,
so.
that's all I had.
Steve?
Well, primarily, I mean, the big portion of my month was NACO, in New Orleans. A lot of the bigger, touch on the bigger items there. The SNAP conversation is a big one. We had a separate breakout meeting, the one afternoon with North Carolina, New York, Wisconsin, Ohio, Minnesota, California in the room, and just talking about SNAPs, the Farm Bill, which is, and then again this weekend, that's coming up to a close, or getting into the final discussion stages anyway. So we're gonna find out here pretty soon. Talk of a delay, a 1-year delay. There's talk of a 2-year delay if you get in, but some of the caveats, the delays are And I haven't seen the latest version. I did notice on our FD TV, there was actually a article on it, last night. Talking, so it's being publicly put out as a 1-year delay. Some of the caveats to that though is if there's a delay, the penalties go up in the second year, and the year that they're still making you use 2026 as the year. They're not moving the data that they're gonna base the penalties off of to a new year. So there's some, and yesterday, actually, Tina, we talked, cause we got a yes or no question, and it's like, and my response in general to the group was, I feel like we're negotiating with ourselves. I don't like either choice, and it's like yes or no, so it depends on how this all shakes out, but so that's a broad conversation. Actually, we were frustrated, with the conversation we had in DC. And I think I mentioned this to Andrew and Cheryl in our budget meeting. Julie Ring took a picture of about 4 of us Minnesota commissioners all looking in the same direction at the speaker. And none of us looked very happy at that point. And the pictures was worth more than 1,000 words on that one, but,
So just to be clear, this is the SNAP benefit cost shift from the federal to the state?
yes,
Yes.
it's the piece tied to
Just to-
HR1. It's the federal piece.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and so that's been a difficult conversation, and not a lot came out of that meeting. What I would call proactive. Everybody kind of came out, I don't know what we're gonna do here or how this is gonna shake out. But we have Commissioner Mojo from Clay and myself have been, particularly, we've been reaching out to Representative Fishbach. Tomorrow I'm going down to New Ulm at 7:30 for a breakfast with Finstead and Fishbach. And for lack of a better term, we've been kind of bird dogging them at some of their events. Just to stay in the room with them and have conversation with them on the side and present some of the data. Tina put together a nice 1-pager, on effects of Meeker County for me, so, it's kinda all things HHS and SNAP right now, and that big picture. Other big thing at NACO was, lots of conversation nationwide about data centers, and, Loudoun County, Virginia, has 243 data centers in the county alone. And basically because of their proximity, it's old news out there, but it's because of their proximity to DC and military application. So I mean, that's why they kind of became a hub for that. So they always, NACO just says, if you got questions on data centers, Loudoun County is where you want to start, because they've been dealing with them for a long time, and just trying to get some more factual information out there. Also had the Emergency Services Board there. Representative Terry Steer is working. Armor radios has been a big thing, armor radio funding. Him and I can't remember, he's got a co-author on his bill for armor radio funding. It sounds pretty positive for this next time around. And then the Emergency Services Board budget for Meeker County's portion was down 3.5%, which don't add up to a lot, but it is one of the few line items that went down. And then Grove City Care, August 25th, if you're into picnics like I am that week, I have a picnic on the 25th of August. I have a county picnic is the 26th of August, so we got Mission Barbecue for Grove City Care. It's a great fundraiser from 5:30 to 7:30 at Holy Trinity Church there in Grove City, and those proceeds will go to the Grove City Care. Then we have the county picnic on the 26th, our corn growers picnic on the 27th, and my own Schmidt Farm Seed will have a picnic on the 28th, or a luncheon, so that's all things picnic.
Is that an invite, Steve?
Not really. And Grove City Care, we've been working on budgets there too, and we did reduce some hours, and now we actually have, our financial, person, voluntarily reduced her hours too, to try and help bring budgets long-term back in line, so continue to work on that. And that is about all I got.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm feeling a little lazy. I had 3 meetings, 2 were canceled by them, and 1 was canceled by, I didn't get to one, so I don't have a lot. So I'm gonna quickly read the email that Corey sent out yesterday in response to one of our new employees getting a year pin. I'm sure you all read about it. I think
That was
these things
great.
are nice for people to hear, so I'm not gonna mention her name. Thank you for the congratulations. I've been so impressed and pleasantly overjoyed with experiences with Meeker County Health and Human Services, from management to all the staff I am privileged to work with. I received my Meeker County pin, and thank you for acknowledging my year of employment with Meeker County. I'm also looking forward to many years of continued employment with Meeker County. I've worked in multiple school districts, social service agencies, and hands down, Meeker is the highest rated in my opinion. I'm so appreciative of being selected to be interviewed, hired, and to continue my employment until retirement, as I have found a home in my job. Thanks to everyone for making this happen. I thought that was so, just great. So we're headed in the right direction, aren't we?
Yes.
Gotta keep things positive too, so. That's all I have. Anything else to come before the meeting? I'd look
Yes,
for-
one other thing.
Yes.
Meeker County Fair, I think, just in general is a really good fair. Corn growers gave out a bunch of scholarships at Saturday afternoon, auction, and, I did, Farm Family Year was recognized there as well, Sheaf of Blind Farms from Kimball. And I just, on behalf of the board, I was able to speak for a minute and just thanked everybody. I basically brought up that, you know, you have over 400 kids there. Animals were up in many categories this year, and that, basically that, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So if we can keep these kids and families active, 2-3 generations or more showing out there, showing cattle and different animals and projects and you name it, you know, it takes that pressure off our family services unit and our county jails, so.
And it sure was nice walking out there, wasn't it? That nice.
That
I
asphalt
mean, that
was so nice.
I'm talking serious. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did. There was something, yeah, I was out there for bingo for a little bit, and they were busy, and everybody was smiling, and they work hard. It's
It's a huge undertaking.
Absolutely,
So.
absolutely, and I noticed, they do lives, and by 6:30 on last night, everything was cleaned up, and, well, they were cleaning up Sunday night too, but, so it takes a lot of work, so they do a good job, so. Anything else? Not, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, there were a lot more bunnies this year, but, you know, rabbits